David Schwartz is telling us XRPL is going to be a game changer because it threatens major financial institutions. We're also going to talk about some IPO action with Ripple and some timing. Now, this article I'm going to share with you is legit on the dates. Because of the information you're using, we can apply it for what we're looking for. And ETF action being delayed, well, guess what? If we know it's going to happen, it really isn't going to hurt the market, is it? Chola mi amigos, how are you doing today? I've got a 4-hour run later today and an auction. Let's hope my legs can keep me going. Dang Metamoro says Warren is against crypto because they would be able to track her and how she gets all her money. Oh, Warren wouldn't want people to know all her dirty secrets, would they? Olio Sturgeon says, looking sharp as F with the cut, Klaus, but not as sharp as your reports. Thanks for the good one, as always. Y'all are just way too kind. Bitcoin sitting at 36,683. We're going to talk about XRP pricing later. ETH, 1965, but isn't falling that far from the $2,000 point. XRP sitting at 62.4, while XLM right now, under 12 cents, 11.9. Bitcoin ETF soon. Don't get your hopes up, says BitGo CEO. BitGo CEO Mike Belshi said that the SEC is likely to reject it. Everyone, expectations versus reality. A couple months ago when these ETF rulings were going to be ruled on, we were all like, yo, dude, this would be great. And then Gary comes out and he denies. Then the market goes, right, just crashes. Now, we expect Gary to delay. Industry leaders are sitting here going, yo, Gary is going to delay. Who cares? We're ready for it. Expectation versus reality. So 2 months ago, what would be a bad news thing for the market, now the market's like, dude, we already got this priced in. We already know what's going on. We're all excited about the ETF, Belshi said, adding that signals from conversations between ETF applicants and the SEC hint at a progress being made. That's good news. Now the bad. I think it's quite likely to have another round of ETF rejections before we get the positive news, Belshi added, attributing to the delays and concerns over market structure. Belshi emphasized the SEC stance on separation of exchange and custody roles. That's a big one because a lot of these exchanges out here would not be able to afford having a separate custody. He told Bloomberg News the market structure should come up before. You have to separate exchanges from custody. The CFTC market structure is already this way. You have to separate exchanges from custody. The equities markets are this way as well. Crypto's a little different though. So how would custody work if the exchanges themselves aren't the custody provider? Either way, what Belchi's saying, what other industry leaders are saying is, look, this used to be bad. We used to fear these rejections, but now we see the light at the tunnel because guess what? We keep submitting revisions and there's less and less problems with each one. Market's not going to freak out on this. David Schwartz reveals XRPL's new focus on asset tokenization in a significant development for blockchain technology. Ripple CTO, CTO, my bad everyone. David Schwartz highlighted XRPL's strategic move for tokenizing real-world assets, RWA. Schwartz expressed satisfaction with the shifting focus from XRP to XRPL's underlying technology. Well, what about XRP though? While acknowledging XRP's roles in transactions and investments, he emphasized the ledger's more intriguing technological facets. He pointed out to XRP's unique position in the blockchain space, being the first layer 1 blockchain not derived from Bitcoin technology. It kind of bugs me a little bit because what about the XRP holders? If Schwartz is out here and he's like, yo, the real power is with XRPL, and we know it doesn't take much juice in terms of XRP to get these transactions to move, then again, what's the benefit of XRP? If it's just a utility token and that's not where all the hubbub is, wow. Expectations versus reality certainly aren't going to line up, just like in the first story. Okay, now this IPO one I wanted to share with you. Look, IPO far away. Once the case is over, then we could really start talking about IPO. But why I wanted to share this with you is because Colin Brown, the author here, pointed to some really important dates. Now, these dates, yes, would help with IPO lineup, but they're also going to help with some bull run because he's showing us some big things that are coming in the horizon. Let me share those big things with you. So, ignore the IPO BS because, look, we're so freaking far away from that. Let's not even get our hopes up, right? Expectation versus reality. Let's instead focus on these potential bull run dates. And when you hear this, I think it's going to put a smile on your face this Sunday morning. Linda Jones, a Wall Street financial expert, recently shared her insights on the potential IPO of Ripple. Okay. Here's what she's saying in terms of Ripple's timeline. Mid-May 2024 is the ideal window. Jones outlined her forecast for Ripple's IPO, pinpointing mid-May 2024, specifically around May 15th as the ideal time. The prediction is based on optimistic economic outlook, including a potential bull market, I made a few mistakes, bull market spurred by decreasing inflation and interest rates, which could be a conducive environment for IPOs. Oh my God, I'm just thinking about my run and making a lot of mistakes. That's a really good point here. So as financial conditions lighten up, more IPOs are going to happen. Think of all the IPOs and SPACs that happened during the Rona time. Yeah, there's a lot of money floating around, so these companies had the money to do that stuff. They also were like, yo, if we're going to open up an IPO and people got money, they're going to be paying more for our shares. So that's the first thing. Mid-May 2024, bull run action, okay. What else? Despite Ripple's lack of immediate need for IPO-related funds, why? Because they've got XRP that they can use, dumping on the market. And what bugs me about them using XRP to fund their operations is when David Schwartz says, nah, the real juice isn't the focus of XRP, it's XRPL. Oh, that's not nice. But think about this. Jones suggests that investor pressure in the company's funding history since 2012 might drive its executives towards pursuing an IPO, which means they could then ditch XRP for funding mechanisms and use the IPO route, which would get Gary Gensler and the SEC off their back. Interesting. Okay, economic outlook. There's, again, more things in terms of putting that picture together. And again, screw the IPO talk here. But let's look at this in terms of bull market action. Economic outlook and Ripple strategic positioning. Navigating a favorable economic landscape. Jones' forecast hinges on the broader economic scenario, anticipating a strong rise in stocks and a hot IPO market in 2024. However, Jones also cautioned about the uncertainty of this timeline, indicating that if Ripple misses the mid-May 2024 window, the next viable opportunity for an IPO might not be until 2025. So I'm reading this and I'm like, you know what, you're right. That we have a potential bull market, like a real bull market coming up when these economic conditions lighten up. If we get some IPO action from some of our favorite crypto companies out there, if we see inflation keep going down, if we see interest rates start breaking, that could make mid-2024 a pretty juicy thing. What do you think? Are you sitting here going, you know what, mid-2024 looks pretty good? Or are you thinking the latter, the 2025? The reason they bring up the 2025 is what? If the economy and if the public's attention goes to the election in 2024, which a lot of us are thinking that's going to happen, be very careful because the markets aren't going to want to make big moves until they know what side we're leaning on policy-wise. For instance, if you're a tech company out there, let's say a crypto company, and you're like, yo, Democrats have been in power and we've been getting our butts handed to us. But all of a sudden the elections come around and you're like, yo, a lot of Republicans that are pro-crypto look like they're going to win. You might change your business strategy. Now, as we get closer to elections and you're like, yo, I think the Dems are going to keep control and we're not going to get any crypto rags and oh my God, this really sucks. Then you're going to be like, yeah, let's delay it a little bit. So again, I get the 2024, but I also see how if we get some presidential drama here, we could really look at 2025. XRP price talk. All right, look, we had the pump to 70 cents. We have not touched the 60 cents, and that's why I'm happy. I'm happy because as of right now, with everything that's going on, with all the hopium, with all the fake news, with all the market manipulation, we have not touched 60 cents. Now, precious metals, commodity markets, that's all going to be firing up here in the next several hours, okay? Going to be looking for market indications from there to let us know what we should be looking for. But this is the chart for XRP over the last couple days and been holding its own, And the brief time, okay, and by brief I mean like less than a couple hours, that it was under 6 cents, it popped right back up. So is 60 cents our new floor? If we zoom out more, are we looking at this going, okay, cool, we can hold above 60. It's better than holding in 50 that we have been. But if we zoom out even further, we're looking at this going, oh, crap, does this look like we're going to lose it again? Just like with the Torres action. So if we're looking for optimism, expectation versus realities, if we know that the BTC ETF is probably going to get delayed, okay, that might move this move down a little bit more because you wouldn't have the juicy good news rolling in with it. If we also know that Jerome Powell is most likely going to take a pause, that's good news. That would happen mid-December, by the way. So we've got like a bunch of things that are saying, yo, we could be above the 60 mark, and a bunch of things that are saying we're below. we could see some accumulation right now. We could. Now, not saying that that's what's going to happen, but if the news stays the way it is, where we're getting some positive, some neutral, and some negative, market's going to be like, oh, okay, we got to wait for something to break. What is that thing that's going to break? Honestly, you're going to be looking at retail sales coming up here in the fourth quarter. Retail sales are going to be talking about what the consumer can afford. And you know what? Let's go big screen. And when we talk about what consumers can afford, it ties into crypto. Because again, if weak economic data is out there, and the retail market is what fuels it, and we know institutions and big money won't be getting in until there's more protection and new regs, well then a weak sales season for Christmas would mean what, everyone? Weak buying power for crypto. Now, the notion that in 2024 we could get some economic relief is very true. Rates could start peeling back down. We could start seeing more IPO action, and not just from the Ripple crew, but IPOs and SPACs in general. The problem is those IPOs and SPACs, they're going to be a lot more expensive now than they were 2 years ago. So we won't see as many as we did during the Rona time. But it still doesn't mean, though, that we can't get that boost in the market. So that's why I'm watching all of these factors, because there's no clear picture right now. Like I said, there's some really good things for crypto, there's some neutral things, and then there's some really, really bad things. And that's what the market is looking for right now. What is the indicating factor? What is the leader out here? What is going to happen that's going to give us the direction? Just like I said with the election. I worked for a company, a big one. And the company I worked for, we had a big meeting. A meeting was several months before the election. I'm not going to say what election because it'll kind of give it away. We had a meeting several months before the election. And we were talking about strategy. And how we didn't want to do certain things because we didn't know which way the political environment was going to lean. Because again, we were worried about interest rates. We were worried about spending. We were worried about global trade. I worked for a company that was international. So when all of the taxes with the borders, right, started going up and down, okay, I kind of gave you a hint right there, it kind of influenced our business decision. And that's what's happening right now. These companies out there are going to be following global politics like you'd never believe. This election coming up is going to be crazy pivotal, and it's going to really determine what we're going to be looking at for the next 4 years, economic condition-wise. So these companies that are looking for information, we're looking for information. But the thing is, we're now starting to build in our expectations appropriately. A couple months ago, we would have heard ETF delay, and the market would have gone down, down, down. Take them to the Greek. Get them to the Greek. But now, we're like, yo, Gary, if you approve it, we're going to be shocked. And what happens when you're shocked on the good side? Market goes up. So now that our expectations are lining up better with reality, these moves from the SEC have less effect. So if we have less effect downside pressure, that allows the neutral and the positive side pressure to ride stronger. So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. But today, it's all about a 4-hour run. It's technically 4 hours and 30 minutes because while I run, I actually have to walk and drink and eat at the same time because I'm doing a 6-hour ultra. So my breaks in between, I'm still moving. So it's like a 4.5-hour run. Let's see if I can pull it off today. What are you cool cats doing? Well, let me know down below because as soon as I'm done with my run, I might make another video if my legs hold out. And I do have an auction tonight. So, pre-burn some BCAAs and some electrolytes because I'm going to need it because these legs got to run for a while. I'll catch you cool cats later.